Self-Inflicted by Chelsea Grin. Two words that literally mean done to one's self. And this is an album that comes 2 years after Ashes to Ashes, which was a disc that many people felt was a very creative endeavor. Something that gave new life to this group, that offered sides to them that perhaps they didn't think that they could possess. Now, one of the principal components of that band, of that album, Jason Richardson, is no longer in the band. Self-inflicted himself into a solo career, and I'm sure that he's happy with that. However, what does that mean for the remainder of this group? Not to say that he was the driving force, but things definitely seemed to shift up just a little bit whenever he was included as part of the group. So here we are 2 years later with Self-Inflicted, and from what we've heard with some of the singles, it was promised to be the hardest and the heaviest Chelsea Grin release that was ever made. And they definitely delivered in some levels. It's the loudest, and it's definitely one that cranks up the darkness a little bit to 12. But is it a good thing? Is it something that makes all of that large of a difference? All of those things, for other reviews and for other bands, might be very positive. But why isn't it as positive here? Has there been something done? Have Chelsea Grin self-inflicted themselves into a corner? And the reality is that they kind of have. Now let's take a look as to why. This is an 11-track affair, and this is one where there's not a single song that is eclipsing the 4-minute mark. Literally, the longest track is 4 minutes of length exactly. So you have shorter tracks on here. That's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with that. That seems like the good old days. It seems like Desolation of Eden, My Damnation territory. A lot of old school fans probably clapping their hands and saying whoop-de-doo. Now, the first thing I'm just going to get this off of my chest almost instantaneously is that Skin Deep as a single to me, I wasn't thrilled with. I thought it was an alright track. It was one that didn't have too much in the way of motion. It definitely was heavy, and it definitely had a lot of promise to it. It's one that I hoped was going to be the sort of weak track on the album. And while it isn't the strongest track, it's definitely one of the better ones on this disc, so that's already a troubling sign moving forward. And addressing Clickbait and Love Song, those are two really hard songs to listen to. They really are. Love Song starts off essentially Jeb Bushing the entirety of the audience by saying, "I thought I told you to this." It's instead of saying, "Please clap," it's saying, "I thought I told you to do this." You know, it almost comes off as a little bit naggy. The song itself is just kind of okay. It's not one that really... The problem that this album faces is the fact that this is a heavy deathcore album that came a couple of years after deathcore had that sort of heavy loudness war idea. And this is one that kind of blends some of the best and the worst concepts of the genre, and also feels like Chelsea Grin has become nothing more than a clone machine that takes some of the better elements or some of the worst elements of other bands that surround them and make their music that way. For example, on Clickbait, the repetition of the idea that you don't give a fuck, which in my psychological opinion means that you actually do. I mean, you write a song about it, or you wrote a song about it. Well, coverkillernation, I bet you Clickbait's about people like you. Well, I guess I got noticed by your senpai as opposed to you, so bink! But anyhow, these are tracks that kind of blend together some of those ideas that you hear on an Attila or an Amur. You know, the whole idea of you can publish this dick. It's definitely something that you'd expect from Attila, and some of the chug that you get alongside and surrounding the lyricism, trying to be as offensive as possible toward the media, while still trying to say that, you know, you're going to publish every single word that I say. And personally speaking, you know, traversing the heavy metal superhighway, there's one thing that I've not seen a lot of interviews from, and that's Chelsea Grin's lead singer. So maybe you should ask Corey Taylor of what that's actually like to be somewhat near the Mount Rushmore of Shut the Fuck Up. Because, yeah, Corey Taylor, Mount Rushmore of Shut the Fuck Up, but it's not really his fault. The microphones kind of attract him. He's like a giant magnet. It's weird. Love Song and Clickbait almost immediately get thrown out. Four Horsemen, though, as a second track, is able to try to just... It's trying to make something out of nothing, and it's, you know, bringing forth some of the same riffage that you would hear from a group such as Suicide Silence, and it's coming forward and coming out alright, but I'm just not moved by it. I'm just... You know, I'm surprised because the songwriting on this album isn't all of that terrible, but it just doesn't do anything for you. You don't get sort of that same register whenever you listen to this. You don't bang your head whenever you listen to this. You don't really move around and dance like a freaking asshole with Tourette's syndrome whenever you listen to this. Although I'm sure many people will try, and many people will do at the shows, and it will look like the worst Peanuts knockoff in history. But this is not an album that has that same quality to it. And that darkness, that loud darkness idea, which should really be something that kind of amps up that destruction and amp up that desire to really be in that dark place and bang your head and things like that, just doesn't come. It just doesn't come. Even through tracks that are, trying to do some good things, such as scratching and screaming, it just doesn't come. We get a break in this monotony, this 9-track of just deathcore, I guess the best of deathcore, the all-star team of deathcore, which actually ends up doing nothing for you. It's the weirdest thing ever. It's like whenever you load up a video game and you play as the worst team and you play against the all-star team and they can't touch you because you're that good at the game. They're striking out every single time. But then Never Forever comes, the 10th track on this disc, and it offers a little bit of difference. It offers a little bit of change. And it is so welcome that you almost instantaneously fall in love with Never Forever just based off of the fact that it sounds a little bit different, that it has a different register to it, a different timbre to it, a different makeup to it. It starts to thrust you back to 2014 and some of those creative feelings that you got while listening to Ashes to Ashes. Say Goodbye kind of stays within that register, but it tries to blend things just a tad, and it leans more toward that same deathcore and that same, monochrome all-star team of BS that the first 9 tracks deliver. And once again, I need to reiterate, despite some of these phrases, the songwriting is not terrible. If this album were released in 2013, or if this was the album that were released in 2014 as opposed to Ashes, this would be a pretty well-received album. It's probably one that would have been seen a little bit more favorably, because at that time was whenever there were some big albums being released by bands such as Attila, bands such as Amur, things of that variety. But here in 2016, with really the only real, I guess, bands that hold hands with them is Whitechapel with Our Endless War, which was, oi oi oi, it was something, or should I say Mark of the Blade, my bad. But it was something. But songs like the elitist ones and Clickbait, you start to wonder a little bit. And you start to wonder if maybe you're slowly but surely witnessing the death of deathcore. If these are groups that perhaps are going to have to learn from the thrash metal bands of the 1980s and realize that they may have to make some morphs to their sound if they want to remain semi-relevant. It's hard to really say, but not all scenes live forever. This is 73 out of 100. This was a struggle to get through. And it's a shame, too, because, as I keep repeating, the songwriting is not terrible. But it just has a very gray exterior and interior to it. It's one that has a third-grade vocabulary whenever it comes to the lyricism and the overall content. It sounds like a temper tantrum that's being thrown by an older person. And that's not on all the tracks, but it's the majority that you hear, and it's the thing that actually stays with you. Some folks need to realize that whenever you reflect opinion, sometimes it's based off of what stays with you the most. And while that may not necessarily be completely subjective, it's close enough. I want to know what you guys think about Self-Inflicted by Chelsea Grin, though. Was this a disappointment for you? Because it was kind of a disappointment for me. Ashes to Ashes was a disc that I was really high on, and I was hoping that the group was going to continue to really morph and change and be just very terrific. And this was a huge letdown. Kind of like Tonight We Die Alive by Word of Osiris. It seems like every single time Jason Richardson leaves a band, their next album sucks. Maybe that should say something. What do you guys think? Let me know. My name is CoverKillerNation. I'll talk to you later.